Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mark Thielen once again, and with another installment of Meet the Musicians of the ISO. And today, actually this evening, we have, as you can see, a pretty young man, I would say. If you look on my side of the screen, you'll see there is quite a difference in age. And this is Trey Moore. He's our principal trumpet in the orchestra, and he just joined this year. I was thrilled to have him in the orchestra and then continue to have him in the orchestra. And so, Trey, how you been doing tonight?
I've been doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. And, one thing I ask just about everybody I've interviewed for this series is, what have you been doing with yourself since, I guess, about mid-March with everything happening?
Well, at the beginning of when all of this started, I was wrapping up the first year of my doctorate. Everything kind of went online, so we were sort of figuring out how all that was going to work. Since then, I've been doing actually a lot of recording. I've released about 35 minutes worth of trumpet ensemble music to stream via Facebook and YouTube. And then other than that, we've just been doing a lot of little projects around the house. It's been productive.
Oh, good. Well, excellent. So I know you are working on your doctorate at University of Florida. That's correct. Yeah.
It is.
So give us a typical day of a doctoral student. Now you're in trumpet performance, right?
I am.
So what's your typical day like as a doctoral student?
So mine's a little different. I'm doing my DMA at UF. I live in Jacksonville, and then I actually manage a performing arts center in Ocala at the College of Central Florida. So my day starts out pretty early. I'll get up, try to get maybe an hour warm up in, and then I'll drive over to the college and have whatever the daily activities are at the theater. It could be anything from bringing in new clients, writing contracts, putting on morning shows, whatever. And then I'll drive over to the college. Most of my classes are in the afternoon and the evening. So I'll perform with either the orchestra or the wind ensemble, depending on what semester it is, and then go to my academic classes, which can be anywhere from 1 to 3 times a week. And then drive down to Lakeland for rehearsals.
well, that's good. So you're still living in Jacksonville, or did you live on campus?
I'm living in Jacksonville.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Mm-hmm. So where did this all begin for you with the trumpet? Did you grow up in Jacksonville?
No, I didn't. I actually grew up in Crystal River, Florida.
Okay.
Probably about an hour and a half or so north of Lakeland,
okay.
Over on the Gulf Coast.
Right. And you started when? Trumpet.
I started playing trumpet when I was about 8 years old. My dad actually got his music education degree from Florida State. Okay. He was a trumpet player, and my older brother, when I was about 8, he was probably about 15 at the time, was working with him pretty much every day one summer to just get better. He was playing in his high school bands, and I really wanted to be a part of that. Right. And my dad didn't know if I was old enough, but he went and got me a horn anyway. And I'd been playing for maybe just under a year when a youth swing band was coming to town, and my parents thought it was the Sonny LaRosa's America's Youngest Jazz Band.
Okay.
And, they were performing this concert, and my mom and dad thought it'd be really cool for me to see other kids my age performing music, and she kind of misunderstood how the concert was structured. She thought there was a show at 2 and 4. It turns out the concert went from 2 till 4. So we got there just in time to hear them playing the last few notes of 1 O'Clock Jump.
Okay.
And we sent a message to the director and asked him when the next concert was going to be, because what we heard was really great. And he's like, you have a kid. He has a horn. Well, why don't you come to rehearsal and have him bring it? And my dad's like, I really don't know. He just started. Director's like, Sonny. He's like, no, it's fine. Have him come anyway. So I went down, played a piece out of my Standard of Excellence book for him. He's like, great, you're in the band. So I played trumpet with them for about a year, and it didn't take long to realize that the drummer got all the applause.
Right.
So one day I was sitting with my parents, and I'm like, I want to get the applause too. So I actually started taking jazz kit lessons. And after about 2 years in the band, I took over his spot as the drummer, and then did that for 6 or so years. Got to play some really great concerts. We played Syracuse, New York, the Sweet and Hot Jazz Fest in California. Got to play in New Orleans, played in Preservation Hall. That was really cool. So it was a really fun experience.
I remember many years ago, I took a group of students. It was orchestra and vocal, I think, and I wanted them to visit Loyola University because they had a wonderful string program there. So I took them there, and part of the trip, I said, we're going to take you to go see the Preservation Jazz Hall. And they had no idea. They were kicking and screaming. I said, I think you'll enjoy it. So we got in there, and of course it's about as big as my living room, but but they just loved it, and it was quite an experience for them. And you know, you don't want them to see all parts of New Orleans necessarily, but that was certainly a treat for me as well, and the students. So yeah, well, that's great. So you're as well versed in jazz, do you think, as you are in classical? And
No, when it comes to trumpet, like most of what I did with that was on kit for them. But then I got more heavily involved with trumpet as I always knew that I wanted to go to college to pursue classical trumpet.
Okay.
And so I got more serious about that towards the end of high school and then through my collegiate days.
And where did you do your undergraduate work?
I did my undergraduate degree at Stetson University over in DeLand, studied with Tom Macklin, and then I went and did my master's degree at the University of Southern California, studying with Boyd Hood.
So is that why you went all the way to California from Stetson to study with him?
Yeah, so it was funny the way that it worked out. Boyd was actually my undergrad, Tom's teacher when he was in college.
Okay.
So a little bit of a connection there. It was really cool to go to my master's and learn from my teacher's teacher. Kind of got to see like where his pedagogy came from.
Right. It often works like that, doesn't it? I mean, connections and things and networking, and well, that's great. And then so you chose University of Florida.
I did.
In spite of your dad's affiliation with FSU.
Yep. Well, I mean, I was presented the opportunity to go there, and I'm getting to study with Dr. Randy Lee, and it's such a great opportunity. I couldn't pass it up.
Yeah, he plays. I think he plays in the Gainesville Orchestra, right?
He does.
Yeah, I play in that too, and he's a terrific player.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal.
My oldest daughter, Audrey, when she was a UF as an undergraduate, and they played the Brandenburg #2, and he was the trumpet soloist, and she was the continuo player. So that was a great experience for her as well. And yeah, he is a wonderful player, and I've talked to him a little bit, and I don't
know how much you know about the second Brandenburg Concerto for trumpet players, but that's one of those pieces that you spend like 6 months working on, and that's the only thing that you play if you're doing a concert. And it's funny because when he told me that story, he's like, "Yeah, I got hired to get this job, and that was the first thing they asked me to do was play Brandenburg with the orchestra." I'm like, "All right, let's do this." So yeah, it's such a treat to be able to stay with him.
Now you use valves, and but yeah, for the people listening, that's by Bach. He wrote 6 Brandenburg Concerti, and the second one they have the solo instruments. One of the main solo instruments is trumpet, and it's usually done on a piccolo trumpet, isn't it? Or
nowadays,
or even or something like that. And yeah, it's really tough, and Trey is right. You spend a lot of time, and it stays up in the stratosphere, and it's amazing that you can imagine people in Bach's time actually playing that, and the difficulty it would have been for them to play. Because
on a valveless natural trumpet with a massive mouthpiece. Yeah.
Well, it had to be high if it's with all that scale, all the scale work. So is there a favorite trumpet concerto that you like, or?
I'm quite partial to a lot of the French repertoire, actually. I really like the Shane concertos, Tomasi. The sort of there's an angular, sort of primal, angry element to it. It's just fun to play.
Okay, and when you guys growing up, what was it? Wynton Marsalis? Was he the guy when you were growing up, or?
He was. Not my favorite player, but I guess at the time he was. I was always partial to Harry James.
Okay, really, Harry James.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
My guy,
master technician, absolutely masterful technician.
Well, I was such a geek in high school. We did a lot of listening, and I'm a string player. But a lot of my friends were wind players, and my best friend was a French horn player, in fact. And Maurice Andre was the artist of the moment when I was in high school. And that sweet sound of his, and so it's amazing. And then, of course, the Canadian brass came along when I was basically in high school, I guess, and made brass a really cool thing. And outside the 40s. And so it's a great instrument. It's not an easy instrument by far. It's especially in an orchestra. I mean, if you don't have trumpets, man, you might as well hang it up in an orchestra, because they will shine in one way or another. And you know that. And so you've had a lot of orchestral experience, I know, probably in California as well as Stetson. So you were there with Anthony Hose there in the orchestra at Stetson.
I was.
Yeah, he's a great guy, and
Yes.
I've done some judging over there for their concerto competitions, and he's been over here. He used to work with our orchestras all the time when I was at Harrison. So wonderful musician and just a wonderful man. So you were lucky to have him as your conductor. Well, Trey, it's been great talking to you. We want to thank you so much for being a part of our orchestra. You mean so much to us, and you're good. If you miss this concert coming up Sunday, it's too bad. It's our brass quintet, and they're doing a patriotic program for Flag Day. So I wish you well beforehand, and I'll probably see you in rehearsal on Saturday. So we look forward to your performance. You're going to tag something at the end of this interview, and thanks again, Trey, for taking your time, and I appreciate it so much.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll see you later.